So the first recommendation that they give to teachers is to go beyond the basics and actually have active engagement that requires critical thinking. I totally agree. We shouldn't be wasting our time all doing the exact same thing and having the same outcome. Instead, we should be engaging in projects that actually have an impact on our community or the world outside of the classroom, instead of like everybody writing the same essay on the same topic and the teachers just like grading for grammar and whatnot. That sounds terrible. From a computer science perspective, it's the same thing. Like, we shouldn't all be creating the exact same like calculator app. How about instead we create different games and apps and other things that are actually interesting to the students that are working with it, instead of everybody recreating the exact same thing that has one single solution. Another thing that the authors recommend is that teachers could actually talk to some of the students about the limitations of ChatGPT and some of the consequences for actually relying on it. There's consequences in terms of like not actually knowing the material. Like, if you're studying this, let's say for higher education or something, and you're trying to get a degree in a particular topic and you rely entirely on generative AI to figure out things, when you get to a job interview and they ask like about your subject area expertise and you're not able to articulate that, it doesn't matter how good your like academic qualifications are on your CV. They're going to look at you and go, you clearly don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, you're not going to get hired. But there's also the issue of, again, academic integrity. Like, if you actually go to an institution and submit plagiarized work or get somebody else to do the work for you, or are just dishonest in some way, then you could very much so get kicked out of the institution. I've had to have that conversation with a couple of students where it's like, hey, if I were to actually go through the list of steps I'm supposed to take when you do this very specific thing, you'd be kicked out of this university. So students need to be aware of like, yeah, this could save you time, and it'll save you even more time in the long run because you won't have any homework to do because you won't be allowed back in the institution. And maybe that's something they actually want, but probably not. So it's good for students to know that, which relates to the third thing, which is like, you really got to focus on academic integrity with the students that you're working with. And that's something that you can put in the syllabi that you create. This excerpt was from podcast 187 of the CSK8 podcast, and it is titled, Will ChatGPT Get You Caught? Rethinking of Plagiarism Detection. And you can find this episode on any major podcast platform, on YouTube, or going to jaredoleary.com.